Welcome back, guys, to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Movies. Now, we're here to talk about Loki, episode 3, and the entire show. How did you like episode 3?
Episode 3 was awesome. To be honest with you, I felt like it was a little slow. I wasn't really sure how I felt about the episode until it was over, and then I rewatched it. So that
I
should tell
didn't
you.
I
That
didn't get
should.
the luxury of rewatching it, but I think I got a pretty good take from just the first
Oh,
time
right.
watching it because I had to pause a lot
Yeah.
to kind of like focus on what the hell just happened. There was a lot of like,
Oh, of course, of course. I
but
mean, I think the episode showed us a lot. I
before
think
we get into it, I want to give a spoiler warning. Anybody who hasn't watched episode 3, go ahead and watch it before you watch this video. Now, continue.
you know what? I don't even want to talk anymore. No, seriously. Um, To be honest
Yeah.
with you, I definitely felt like the episode could have had a few different twists that could
Yeah.
potentially happen, but I was pleasantly surprised. The writers said from the beginning, like everything that we thought of is in the
Hmm.
show. Like they didn't hold back at all. They didn't cut anything back, and I think that's actually one of the greatest things that they did.
Right.
Not holding back. So I'm happy. I'm happy with
Yeah.
this episode and I'm happy with the way the show's going. So I don't know if you've heard, but it looks like, Loki is going to be Loki has been confirmed to have an additional season, at least one
Hmm.
more.
Really?
So we're going to be following Loki for a little bit longer.
I know they couldn't have just left us with 6 episodes, man. This
Yeah,
show's
yeah.
way too good, bro.
Oh, of course. I mean, this show's crazy. This show's crazy.
But
There's a lot of twists.
if season two's even gonna come into play, I'm sure it's gonna be in like 2022
Oh,
for
it's probably
sure.
not going to be it's probably not going to be until, after some of these big movies. And it might
Yeah.
even, who knows, it might actually come out before Doctor Strange does.
Really? You think so?
You never know.
It'd be awesome to kind of
Because
get. I mean,
Doctor Strange doesn't come out until 2022, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
so that would make sense. I mean, coming out right before Doctor Strange, especially talking about, especially having stuff to do with the timelines and time in general, which is Doctor Strange's forte. He
yeah.
loves that stuff. But getting back to episode 3, what did you think of, the twists, that opening scene? That was, I had no words. I was actually confused
Hmm.
with that opening scene. I didn't really know what was going on at first. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Did we go back in time? Did we go forward in time? Did they
Yeah.
know each
Well,
other? But, let's set the scene and then let's talk about it.
okay. Well, so you want to set the scene of episode 3, or you want to set the scene of episode 1, 2, into 3?
I'm gonna set the scene. The end of episode 2, going to episode 3. So we end episode 2, with Sylvie, or the Loki variant, Lady
Hmm.
Loki, whatever you want to call her. She is leaving the Roxxon Corporation, which is a futuristic Amazon-ish type of company. They have a giant retail store,
Hmm.
electronics all over the place. So none of this stuff, nothing seems out of place. She is seen, leaving.
Hmm.
But what we didn't see was the agent from the TVA, and I believe her name was B-15.
Hmm.
She was she was telling Mobius and the other agents that she told the variant how to get to the timekeepers.
Right.
And that's kind of where we ended off on episode 2. We ended off there,
And then her
seeing that
opening a
and her opening
portal.
up the portal, Loki
Hmm.
and her jumping through that portal with the
Right.
TVA agents following close behind. So
Yeah.
we get in, starting off episode 3. What do we see? We get that scene with Sylvie talking to that agent that she took the information from in this warped reality that she had created inside her mind.
Yeah, and this is our first look of how she actually enchants people and what
Yeah.
that experience is like.
Oh, of
And
course.
it seems a lot different than when we saw kind of like mind control play out with like Wanda, where a lot of the people were sort of having these like illusions, and it just led to this
Exactly.
discomfort.
Exactly.
This seemed a little bit more in depth, like she would trick the people in the enchanted state to get information out of them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we definitely saw a little bit of, how she actually does her magic, how she takes over people's minds. And we
Yeah.
got a good glimpse into what they're seeing as well. So it's not just how she does it, but what they see as well.
Hmm.
So we found out that she's seeing, you know, that this agent from the TVA is seeing, a familiar place, a
Hmm.
restaurant that she used to go to on Earth.
Right.
And
Which
she
which
was alive
that was in and of itself a big
in her
reveal
own,
too.
in her own timeline.
That
And
apparently all the TVA
yeah,
employees are
before we get
actually
there,
variants.
yeah, before we get there, we're gonna touch on that in a little bit because we're gonna start talking about, we're gonna get into that a little bit because there's gonna be a big reveal, which is gonna be crazy. We already saw it, but the big reveal to Loki. But
And
before we get there,
I want to say before we continue into the
yeah,
plot that we have a special guest coming in, my friend Matt. He's also a Marvel connoisseur, and he's probably going to be joining us within the next 10-20 minutes.
awesome,
So if he just pops in randomly, you'll know that it's him. Yeah. I'm
awesome,
excited to kind
awesome.
of dive deep on him with this because we've had talks about Marvel movies and Marvel in general before, and he really goes in depth, and
Yeah,
he's like a true diehard fan. So it's
awesome,
gonna be cool to have like Matt on here. But yeah,
awesome, awesome. Looking forward to it. So yeah, getting into, kind of seeing where that plot was going, we kind of
yeah,
saw she was in this restaurant that's familiar to her from when she was on Earth in her own timeline,
hmm.
but she begins to realize that she doesn't recognize the person sitting across from her, which is
Well,
Sylvie.
she does like in the enchanted state. She knows her, but doesn't know
Yes.
how she knows her. So sort of
Well, she
like when
realizes she's like, I don't know if I remember you.
Yeah, that's why
And
Sylvie. It would happen. She'd kind of break out of the dream state a little bit once Sylvie would ask like questions like,
she'd ask
"Where are the
certain questions.
timekeepers?"
Yep.
And then that's when she would be like, "Wait, who are you? Like, what is
Yep.
going on right now?"
She would ask the probing questions and the things that she is basically programmed or
Hmm.
brainwashed not to remember and
Right.
not to know. So when she's asking these probing questions, it triggers something and she breaks out of it for a split second, but Sylvie's able to reel it all in and
Yeah.
get what she needs. Eventually she breaks her. She gets the information she needs and that's it. She kind of walks away with all the information that she needed.
Hmm.
And now the only thing left is to set the charges, create all these branch timelines, empty the TVA, and make her move.
Hmm.
And, she opens the door long enough, the portal, for Loki to get through.
Yeah. Long
That's
enough.
long
It's a little
enough.
sus.
Just long enough for Loki to get through. I mean, that was
Right.
definitely an interesting part. I don't
Yeah.
know where I don't know what the deal is there. That part I couldn't really come up with a theory. I tried every which way.
Yeah.
I couldn't come up with a theory for that. The only thing
Hmm.
I could think of is that she needs Loki for something. What she needs Loki for is that's up in the air.
Yeah. Well, we'll So yeah, so pretty much episode 3 opens up with her and Loki going through this portal, and that's when the moment comes where Enchantress, or not Enchantress, God, I'm going off on a limb here, but I believe it's
Sylvie.
Enchantress. Sylvie goes to touch Loki and try to enchant him,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to which it doesn't work.
Yep.
Doesn't work,
Well,
and that's when.
let's kind of touch on when they got through the portal, where they ended up, and the next couple scenes, because those are actually very pivotal to what happened to the rest of the episode. So,
Yeah,
in those next
it's.
few scenes, Sylvie gets through the portal. She ends up in the TVA. Loki following close behind. Ends up in the
Mhm.
TVA. Coincidentally, he ends up right next to the lockers which
Right.
happened to have his daggers in there.
Hmm.
He gets his daggers. Sylvie, now realizing that her magic doesn't work in the TVA after trying to enchant one of the guards.
Right.
And then he realizes it and tries to attack her with the reset, with that reset weapon or reset stick, whatever you want to call that thing. He tries to reset her, which is essentially just erasing her,
Hmm.
but he fails, and eventually she resets him.
Well, yeah, she fights a lot of people in the TVA.
Well, she
A lot
fights
of them
that
get
first
like
guard.
knocked down. Some of them,
Well,
get
really, it's that
erased.
first guard. It was really that first guard because now she didn't, because she, at that point, she didn't know that her magic didn't work. And
Hmm.
that was the only opportunity they had against her
Hmm.
because now she didn't have a weapon. Now she
And
has a weapon.
I'm struggling to decide whether erasing someone is a bad thing or a good thing at this point. I mean, to some
Well,
degree, I mean, all the TVA, like, obviously we're going to touch on this in the future a
yeah,
little
of
bit,
course.
but yeah, so it's just, she's resetting them. Where do they go? What happens to their timeline? How does that play in it? But
Well,
it was really cool to kind of just see her
I
kick
mean,
some
based
butt.
on that first episode where we kind of heard that whole speech on on how resetting somebody works and how variants work when it comes to the timeline, they get reset out of their timeline
Mhm.
and they get put into and then basically their timeline moves as it was supposed to be
Right. And so
because they're
essentially,
a variant. So regardless, timeline doesn't get affected by somebody
essentially
getting
you're
reset.
you're pretty much killing that consciousness, that person. But to some degree, as we heard that the TVA agents are actually variants,
Yeah,
from various places.
yeah, of
um,
course.
you're essentially killing that consciousness, that person who exists in that timeline.
Yep.
But you're essentially just kind of setting them on their own path, and we could already see that the TVA agents are brainwashed because they don't know how they got there. They don't know that they're variants.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
saw that in like episode, I think it was episode 2, when we had that amazing dialogue between Loki and Mobius, and you kind of just see how uh, he Mobius says we were created for the
Hmm.
TVA. You know,
Well, I mean, that's what he believes because that's
Mhm.
what he's been told. So, you can't
Right.
really fault him for what he doesn't know.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there's definitely a lot of hidden secrets within the TVA that we're still
Hmm.
not going to know until probably episode 6.
Right.
There's definitely a lot of secrets we're not going to know. One of the things that I've been, one of the common theories that I've been seeing, that I've been reading, has been that the TVA is actually, you know, being run by Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
That's the common theory that everybody has at this point because it's the only one that really has any factual, backing
And if
to
for
this
all those who
point.
don't know, Kang is the supposed TVA agent that we still have not heard from, who kind of goes
No, well,
AWOL.
Kang is technically, so the theory is that Kang is basically the director of the uh you know of the timekeepers. He's the director of the timekeepers. He's the one who's the one who's in charge of all the timelines, and
Hmm.
he's the one who's making things play out. And that's because his history in the comics has been as he has had many variants in throughout the comics. So that kind of syncs up there, adds up. But at the same time, Kang is also known as like the master time traveler.
Right.
He's traveled through all different timelines and all different times all through his life.
Hmm.
So it makes sense. And
Hmm.
it's kind of like, hey, you know what, maybe there aren't three timekeepers. Maybe it's just Kang and the other two are just illusions created by Kang or variants of Kang
Right. And
that
it's gonna be
are just kind of there,
and
but
it's gonna
he's the
be
one pulling the
cool.
strings.
Right. He's kind of like the puppet master,
Yeah.
and he even has the current, I guess, leader of the TVA under his thumb as well. Because from what I read, there seems to be a romantic relationship between Kang and her.
Well, she's
And
not necessarily the lead because the timekeepers are the leads of the entire thing. They're the directors. They're the ones in charge of everything. She's probably like the top dog. She's like the highest of the TVA agents because she's
Right, like
still
the
an
leader
agent.
of the
Yeah,
TVA
she's kind of like
agents.
yeah, she's like the
Yeah,
head of the TVA agents.
right.
But
And
yeah,
so,
we're seeing some. We're gonna definitely see some really interesting stuff over the next couple episodes.
right,
3 more episodes. There's gonna be a lot of There's gonna be a lot of reveals. We're gonna have to find out what's going on with the TVA, and who knows? May are is Mobius and the rest of the TVA agents gonna go? Are they gonna be on Loki's side?
well, so
Oh,
this is where my theory plays in, and this is something we definitely got into a little bit of a heated argument on.
yeah.
And that's the beauty of Marvel, like I was telling you, is that we get this opportunity to kind of have two different perspectives of the same show. And
Yeah.
it kind of like, you and me, we both love Marvel, we both love Loki, we love the entire universe. And so we're watching the same content and we
Mm-hmm.
can have these different opinions of what we think is going to happen. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're not even close. So what part of my theory was that you know this is all sort of like a trap. Stevie, sorry, what's her name again?
Selby.
Selvi. Yeah,
Yep.
I want to call her Stevie. I don't know why. Selvi kind of is playing Loki for a fool, right? So I think that one of the scenes we got to see in episode 3 was, her and trying to enchant Loki,
Mm-hmm.
right? And her, not being able to. And then Loki says, "Oh, you can't enchant me. My mind's too strong."
Yeah.
So, like I told you, this was kind of like a flashback to when, Wanda tried enchanted Thor, and sort of Thor was like talking in the walkie, and he was like, "She tried to, brainwash me, but it can't work. I am far too mighty." Something along the lines of that. And then we saw him drift into his enchantment, finding out that he
Yeah.
was in
But
fact enchanted.
yeah, I was actually thinking about that after we had our little discussion earlier. So I was actually thinking about that, and if you remember, he was actually the quick. He was able to fight it off extremely quickly,
Mhm.
as opposed to everybody else. So I think that's also something to say about maybe he's not completely immune to it, but his mind is strong enough.
You just see him in Asgard, and he's like, "Oh God, he was a liar." There he is.
There we
Hey,
go.
What's
stop,
up?
What's going on? How you
bro.
doing, Matt?
On your nuts. How do you get that to happen? I want that depth of field.
You got to use XSplit.
XSplit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm not installing that anytime soon. That costs me way too much money. Let's just keep the. We'll be together soon. Depth of field.
Honestly, I did it. It was Zoom got rid of the blurred background feature,
Right.
and
Let me
I
get put it behind a paywall, didn't they? Those
yeah.
jerks.
So I ended up just I found XSplit, and it's what I think it's like $60 for lifetime subscription.
Wait, lifetime, bro. I
Yeah.
used to stream with that. They charge me like 30 a month. Lifetime.
Yeah, they have a lifetime subscription on there.
Holy crap. Yeah, I might Google that after I'm done because like now I'm interested.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, I used to stream on that. Well, not stream.
So
So
yeah, so pretty much I was diving into Loki with him,
Awesome,
and
awesome.
he loves the show. Like, he's obsessed with it. He said it was really cool. Also was talking about like some of the themes of like friendship in the show, which I definitely thought a little bit more about, because
Hmm.
it's really cool how you saw Sylvie and Loki kind of letting their guard down. But
you
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
we didn't enchant him, and what we're seeing is just one huge lie the entire time.
so what do you think? Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so I think she was enchanted. Loki was enchanted. Islam doesn't think that that was the case. What do you think? You don't have to choose an opinion. You could just. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, like, I'm in the camp of, I mean, now that you mention it, yeah, I definitely think that's going to be the next twist. I mean, look, the end of Evangelion is happening on that planet right now. Like, people are dying. Like, everybody's just getting snapped in real time. Like, that's going to be the twist there. Like, she wants something from this Loki, and it's probably, where did you keep the thing? what was the time pad?
Right. Yeah, I was thinking there was
Yeah.
too many coincidences, like we highlighted that whole moment with Thor with and Wanda. I thought it was kind of similar to when she tried to enchant him, and he was like, "My mind is too strong," and then leaving the portal open for too long, But again, we could be wrong, and I mean, it would definitely be more satisfying to know that that was just the plot
Right.
continuing on, because that was really cool. Like when we saw her and Loki go to this planet in 2077. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Slim?
Yep.
Yeah,
That's 2077.
2077, and then we just see this planet kind of just exploding, people dying, and
Yeah, I
then
mean, you have the moon, Loki and inadvertently transported them to a planet that was going to be the biggest apocalyptic event of history,
Mhm.
which is, a planet colliding with a moon. Everybody's going to die.
Some Thanos stuff right there.
Richard Dana just like in his grave saying, "Dude, where's my respect?" Like
Okay.
you're like the biggest apocalyptic event ever, but literally all of Thanos' people are dead, and there is literally nothing left on Titan, not even a speck of water. It is Mars in that joint, bro.
Hmm.
They are passed the F away. Like they are gone. You don't even think about that. Like you're like, it's no big deal. But
That's what I'm saying.
this planet, the biggest apocalyptic event ever, bro. Let's get some front row tickets to that noise.
I know, bro. That would be awesome to kind of witness. And
I mean,
everything.
you gotta, in order to get out of there, they had to go what? They had to get the train tickets, and only the train tickets were only for the wealthy. So, Loki being the trickster he is, decides, you know what? I got a plan. I'm gonna put on a uniform, get us on this train. Nobody will even know.
And you know something? Train for the wealthy only. Don't worry about it, bro. Omni-Man's got you.
That's the next show we're talking about. Invincible. Did you watch that, Islam?
I didn't watch it yet.
Oh my god, bro.
I know you told me. You told me.
Episode one's so good. You got to watch it. So we won't give them any spoilers, Matt. But you and me will talk about it later because that was a really cool show. And then we'll get Slam up to speed. And honestly, let's do maybe a podcast like next week or the week after that.
100%.
That'd be really fun.
I'm down.
So yeah, honestly, it was a crazy episode. And
I like I said earlier. So before Matt joined, and before everything just went.
Your
to hell.
Zoom crashed. Your Zoom got Thanos snapped. Yeah.
Yeah, my Zoom got snapped. Before Matt joined, we were talking about how I thought the episode was kind of a little boring, a little dull in the beginning. There wasn't as much happening in that upfront, those first 10 minutes or so of the episode wasn't as much going on. But once we got to that train sequence, that's when the entire episode pretty much just opened up, and we hit the peak right there.
Yes.
We hit the peak at that point. Everything's happening in that little scene. We get some fighting. We get a drunk Loki singing some Asgardian songs, and then all of a sudden Loki gets thrown out of a train.
Well, that's why that's why I thought he was enchanted, because I'm like, all right, these people have to get off. Loki and Sylvie have to get off this planet. Like this is real stuff right here, right? And he's getting drunk and singing. I'm like, where does this guy's priorities lie?
I mean, this is Loki we're talking about. I mean, Loki was still, he still likes to have fun.
No.
You saw how he was in Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
And he ended up going, in Dark World, when he was kind of just, sitting there in Odin's place, drinking, eating grapes and watching people do a play for him.
Oh, bro, that was Ragnarok.
Oh, Ragnarok. You're right. It was Ragnarok. That's what I thought it was.
Matt's on it.
It's like the episode is boring, and then Loki starts drinking, and then this stuff takes off. There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, Loki and Sylvie did sort of have a fight there, but they kind of have this dynamic where Loki is physically stronger, and she's I don't know, more magically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
So it's they can't really, I suppose, off each other as easily, especially when they're in the situation where, there's literal death raining from the sky. Let's go find cover. So he's consistently trying to antagonize him. This whole thing about this could be her enchanting him. Yo, That is such a Loki thing to do.
Right.
That is
That's
such
what I'm saying.
a thing to do.
But the question is, what is she trying to get out of him? Or if he's not enchanted, it's like, okay, how is the plot going to further? Like, are they going to get out of this? Are they going to? Obviously, they're going to get out of this. I mean, you can't kill off two main characters. You can't kill off two Lokis. But
Maybe.
she seemed like more vulnerable in this episode, and that's kind of like what shocked me, because like from episode 2, she seemed like she was crazy. Like it seemed like she had no agenda, and
Well, they
even
definitely humanized her. They humanized her in this episode.
yeah,
And I do think that Loki now, Loki and Sylvie are they're building that friendship together, but it's not a friendship out of, joy for each other or enjoying each other's company. It's out of necessity because they know they need each other to survive.
Hey, what better way for there to be a friendship? I mean, like, what else would it be? Them in civilized society, Loki mows the yard. Hey, Sylvie, how you doing? Oh, hi. I'm just enjoying a margarita while I watch you on the lawn. Don't mind me.
yeah.
I mean, I think that would make a great show if we had that
It'd
with
be
with
WandaVision.
Wanda.
It'd be Wanda. It'd
But
be
we need
Loki and
WandaVision.
Sylvie.
Yeah, WandaVision with Loki and Sylvie guest stars.
Yeah, in like 50s black and white. No, that's literally what it is. No, it's just like they humanized her, and then obviously in the beginning you have to establish some dialogue, right, between Loki and Sylvie. And it seems like, I mean, do you have any idea of what her agenda is at this point? I mean, I know it is to get to the timekeepers, but is she trying to like destroy the timekeepers? Because in a way, I like to think that, they highlighted that the TVA kind of like brings order to the world, but it seems like in order for that order to be put in place, there was first needed to be some disorder, which
Right.
was, tampering with the timelines. I mean, you have the timekeepers and then the lizards, the time wizards, trying to bring it into one single timeline. But before they came into the picture, it was just erratic. There was timelines all over.
So she said something actually very specific, very interesting that I picked up on. So Sylvie at one point said, the time police have been after me, and they've been after her for a very long time since she was young.
Right.
So that kind of makes me feel like, maybe it's not that she did something wrong for them to be after her, or that maybe it's that they knew her power, similar to how Hydra with the Zola integrated computer network that they created, during Captain America,
Bro, that was so weird.
that they
I
were
know,
basically
right?
trying to just kill everybody who was a future threat.
Like
Yeah.
that is such a Hydra thing to do. Like, that is such a Hydra thing to do. That is such a you know what party in America thing to do. You know who I'm talking about. Y'all know who you are. Y'all know what y'all are about. Y'all know what you're doing out there. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It was just like,
Like
Hydra has their arms and everywhere, right? They always say like cut off one head, two more grow back. It's like, I mean, when I found out that Hydra intercepted Shield, like that was a big like what,
yeah.
and then it was really satisfying to kind of see Endgame, where you have Captain America kind of going into the elevator, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna take the Tesseract, or yeah, I think it was the Tesseract.
Yeah, it's like
And he
I
was
got
like,
that. I got this.
yeah, and then he was like, they were like starting to get worried and alarmed, and then he goes, "Hail Hydra," and they're like, "Oh, all right, you good?"
Yo, tell you something. Let me tell you something. That is shadowing right there. Because in the comics, Red Skull got this thing called the Cosmic Cube, and he decided, oh wait, I can make Captain America my guy now.
Right.
Mhm.
Which is what, Secret Wars?
Yep.
Is that what? So
Secret-
that's how Captain America becomes evil.
Yeah. The whole thing was like,
It's basically a backwards version of the of the Marvel universe we already know.
yeah,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
like they're obviously setting up for this expanded universe of like,
Well,
oh,
yeah. I mean, there's two main series that have already been set up just based on what we've seen in WandaVision and what we've seen so far in Loki.
would you be upset if I said I haven't seen WandaVision still?
Oh man.
No.
Nah,
I mean-
honestly, no, I wouldn't. But I mean, look, WandaVision is going to definitely play a role into the future, but it's not necessary.
Like, I think Marvel is just gonna drop the movies and create shows because, look, movies are nice and all,
Hmm.
but we had to wait 20 years just to watch Iron Man sacrifice himself. Was it 20
Hmm.
or 20 movies? I don't know.
Since
What
the
Look,
was it,
first Iron
2000,
Man.
2008 to 2019?
it's been
So
like
11 years.
11 years. This has been over 10 years worth of movies.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Think that it takes a lot longer to make a movie and set up a movie's path than it does a universe's path. Plus, like with a movie, you have to just like set all these rules. I mean, like, bro, Star Wars pigeonholed themselves because now they got to do everything in accordance to Rise of Skywalker, and that was terrible.
Hmm.
So, like now they got to spend all their time like redeeming themselves. So I started reading these comics online because I wanted to see, oh my god, it's Vader, bro, more Vader, and like Vader goes to Exegol apparently. I'm like, you're telling me this guy knew and he didn't tell his son? All right, fine. Oh, is that Luke's hand? Are you saying Snoke is part Luke and Rey is part Skywalker now? Okay, I see. Yeah, okay.
Now
No,
we
we
got to
had
go
a,
into Star Wars.
yeah, but yeah, so I mean, like WandaVision created the beginnings of, at least introduced, Armor Wars.
Right.
So that's gonna be, Vision's gonna be coming out. We're gonna have the new Vision, the new and improved White Vision.
The new Vision.
He's more gray, but
No, the new one is white, not the dead
it's a
Vision.
little racist, but fine.
um, then we have, then with what we saw in Loki, we kind of get a little hint with like with what's going on in Loki, what's going on with what happened in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mm.
We're gonna
That was a
get a
good show.
little.
Did you watch that, Matt?
I still need to watch that. Like, I need 2 weeks because I'm doing a dopamine detox right now, and like, I'm not binging anything, no binging, but like,
Nice.
watch it. But like, dude, you know what's about to happen with this? Why Sylvie's doing what she's doing, though, right?
Drop it on us.
She's not supposed to exist. Like, think about it, right? Like, variants are basically versions of you that strayed from the path, and we're supposed to do one specific set of things. Like the fact that this Loki didn't do a specific set of things because he got the cosmic cube, I mean the tesseract, like it just shows, okay, great, he's a variant by pure coincidence, but she's a variant because Loki is supposed to be a male, not a woman, and now she's trying to fight for her existence. And how is she going to justify existence? Well, she can kill the timekeepers and unleash mass chaos throughout the universe.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of like where I was heading with that whole, like, how she's been chased for since she was young,
Right.
and she calls them the time police. She doesn't call them the TVA. She calls them the time police because she's saying like, hey, they've been chasing me for no reason,
Hmm.
and she wants to get away, get out, get ahead of them, and get past them. So that's why she's been jumping through timelines, getting these reset charges, all for her plan to work.
Mm.
But Loki threw her, threw a wrench into those plans by taking her out of the TVA and into a different universe, into a different timeline that she didn't want to be in.
Which is smart from his point. He's delaying her agenda, and he's kind of getting a bigger grasp of what's going on. Maybe trying
Exactly.
to have Sylvia trust him. The thing with Loki is just, she has a plan and he has a plan to betray her, and then she has a plan for that plan and he has a plan. It's like it's really funny because you're just kind of watching it, waiting for someone to betray someone. You're kind of
Well,
just like, all right, when does somebody get stabbed in the back?
well, there was something interesting that I read was that when Loki was kind of going around the TVA and then he came across the Infinity Stones.
Yep.
What's to say that he didn't take some Infinity Stones? He knows that they don't work inside the TVA, but he was
Hmm.
banking on that moment where he's going to be outside the TVA, get a little space from the people who are kind of watching him, his babysitters,
Mm.
Hmm.
and be able to use one of those stones to do something. And one of those stones happens to be a time stone. He also has the space stone. He has all the stone. He could have all the Infinity Stones,
Right.
Right.
but he doesn't have a gauntlet, but
Wait.
he has the stones, but he could do stuff with the stones individually.
Wait a
Right.
minute. So Doctor Strange, wait, so was he full of crap then? Because there's only one situation where we beat Thanos, but Thanos lost, and the TVA says, "Oh no, bro, only one timeline, period." So that would mean that it's not that they lost, but rather the timekeepers were probably manipulating him into thinking, "Oh no, 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 this won't work. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do this."
Well, there was actually, I mean, this isn't really a theory, but more of a meme that I read, and it honestly sounds pretty accurate when you think about it. It was basically, Doctor Strange kind of looking at, looking at all the possibilities in the timelines,
Right.
and he's like, "Yeah, I only came back with one." He tells Tony Stark, he just tells Tony he only came back with one because the TVA keeps telling him no.
Right. Right. And then there's another crazy theory that the TVA exists in the quantum realm, which was like a TikTok, right? And we're basing all this off, memes and TikTok. So take this with a grain of salt. But just the fact that, because quantum in the quantum realm, time moves differently, right? So
I mean, it
essentially,
definitely
couldn't
makes
you?
sense when you think about it. Being in the quantum realm makes sense because time moves differently, and they could be using a very advanced form of that same PIM technology slash Tony Stark technology that they were using for time travel, where you
Ultron, let's add
where
him
you
in there.
not Ultron wasn't involved in this one, but kind of jumping in through, going in from one side and coming out on a different time period just by exiting the quantum realm at a certain point.
Right.
Right.
So, it's definitely a plausible theory, but I feel like it's still a little far fetched. Although it could be the introduction for Ant-Man and the Wasp too.
That would be really cool to see them kind of also experience the TVA and find that in the quantum realm. Because the thing that continues to baffle me about Marvel in general is just they keep like they put out all these different plots, all these different characters and
Mm-hmm.
heroes and villains and all that, and they somehow keep tying them in. They keep finding a way to kind of like make all these different universes kind of exist in one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
So
look at the next few movies that are coming out, excluding Black Widow and Shang-Chi because they're off on their own.
backlogged.
They're
Yeah,
off on their own.
yeah,
But you have Doctor Strange and the multiverse.
right.
You have Doctor Strange and the multiverse. You have Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
Oh snap.
You have what is it? Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think it's called, or Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Spider-Man. What is
Eternals,
it? You have Spider-Man away, Far From Home,
Mhm.
and then
where
you
Peter
have
Parker is going to make an appearance.
the Eternals, which is obviously, these are up there among the top, five most powerful beings in existence in the Marvel
Right.
universe.
Right.
So you now have a lot of these upcoming movies are being presented to us now, setting the storylines for this future.
Hmm.
They're setting the stage for all these new movies. There's also I saw, I think it was New Rockstars or Cosmic Wonder, who posted a video talking about how Loki is actually setting up the three Spider-Men for the new Spider-Man movie.
Right.
How
Like
Loki is actually setting it up because now you have variants. We've introduced variants. So the
Hmm.
Spider-Men could all be variants.
right, and that's the thing.
Ah,
Like Loki. Now, don't quote me on this, but from what I understand, Loki tends to unleash a lot of chaos in the comics on like a universal scale.
hmm.
Yeah.
This happened. I think that was what was about to happen in this, like when Thor was a woman, basically what Natalie Portman's about to be.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just kind of wild that they're not content to just do one universe. They're doing multiverses, but with when they do multiverses, it's like they're not just gonna do like, hey, look at all these adventures. No, what they're gonna do is we're getting Secret Wars soon. Like
Hmm.
that's gonna be huge because we're gonna get Doctor Doom and God Emperor Doom, and he's going to be the ultimate. He's gonna be the next Thanos. Like, forget Galactus, bro. Doom. calling it right now. Like God Emperor Doom, the White Cloak could literally tear Thanos apart in a literal second. I'm not even joking. It would
Right.
nuts.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
that's, I mean,
a lot of
with
people
the
were saying, the next big villain is gonna be, on par with Galactus. Uh, that's gonna be like that next big bad that they're gonna introduce for the next Avengers movie.
right with the upcoming movies and stuff like that, and how the
Yeah,
Marvel universe advances, you're going to get bigger, badder, villains, but also in order to cope with that, you're going to get like how not WandaVision, Wanda went from, just being a witch to actually being like a Nexus being, to actually being the Scarlet Witch. You see these people upgrading constantly, and then we're
yeah.
introducing more heroes into the
Well, I mean,
mix.
we never got a real backstory to Wanda. That was
Right.
the thing. We never got a real backstory to her. Everybody knew her as the Scarlet Witch beforehand, even before they officially announced it.
Right.
But she finally became the Scarlet Witch in every sense of it, not just the look, not just looks wise with her, her red suit,
Hmm.
but she now has the power, the look, she has everything, and now her actual suit has changed too.
Hmm.
At the end of WandaVision, I know you didn't see it, Matt, but at the end of WandaVision, we kind of get a glimpse at the new suit of the Scarlet Witch and how she looks now. So we've kind of gotten that introduction.
Right.
So, the Scarlet Witch, and obviously we already know magic has been a huge part of the Marvel universe for a while,
Yep.
and it's going to play even a bigger role. We're seeing it now with Loki. We're going to see it again with Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is supposed to have the Scarlet Witch in that movie.
That's gonna be awesome.
So that's going to make, and we don't know. Who knows? Maybe Loki's going to end up in that movie. Maybe you're going to have a Loki in that movie. Maybe
Hmm.
you're going to have, maybe you're going to have Agatha in that movie. There's going to be a lot of potentials in that movie because of how much magic is actually happening in Marvel at this moment.
Right.
Two of the last three shows have been magic related, magic oriented
Which
Right.
was the introduction of magic into kind of the Marvel universe.
at a larger scale. Because
Hmm.
we already had Doctor Strange.
Right.
This is at a larger scale.
Right.
What was the villain in Doctor Strange? It was Dormammu, right?
Yeah, Dormammu.
Maybe he makes a comeback into it. So I mean, I think a good place to kind of conclude this and end this is to kind of see where we see Loki going, and then anything we're excited about. Like for instance, I'm really excited about the Eternals. Like that's really cool because you got like such a star-studded cast. You got Angelina Jolie. You got Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. I
Right.
mean,
We also
yeah,
have
huh?
Stuber. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah, Stuber.
The Turtles too.
Dude, like they put everybody. I mean, you put Salma Hayek in
Yeah,
it.
that's a star-studded cast. Like I didn't think they would do that again.
Yeah, let's hope they don't blow it though.
I've
That's
heard good things. Like I've heard good things from just even like cinematographer kind of point of view. Like the setting, they said that it takes place in one spot in real time, and like a real place. So that's kind of like a difference, because Marvel has been kind of doing it where you just kind of have a green screen. You could put them in any place. So
well, I
this is
mean,
going to be shot in the
they've
same setting, and
well,
it's an origin story.
Marvel's been using they've been using Atlanta for most of their filming.
Yeah.
And there's like one big hotel, that they use for pretty much everything.
Yep.
Hmm.
That's their big, that's like their big area for filming right now. But I think we're gonna see, a lot. We're gonna definitely see some more creative filmmaking with Eternals. Just because I feel like with that kind of cast, with that kind of story, you have to really go really big, because
Oh yeah.
not as many people are familiar with Eternals, and especially if you're not into the comics and you're just really into the movies, you're not really gonna know about the Eternals.
I
Right.
mean, I barely knew about the Eternals, but I'm like, just like when Iron Man came out and Spider Man came out and all these origin stories, I'm always excited for an origin story because, apparently the Eternals have been there since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Really, they've been there and they've kind of just been sitting on the back burner.
Well, yeah, we
Um,
saw some of the. If you saw some of the trailers, they showed the Eternals having like heirlooms and souvenirs from all different times of history.
mhm. Kind of like
That's
Mobius has those drinks that
yeah,
are discontinued and
yeah. Those like little like hints of like, hey, we can get whatever we want because
yeah.
we can go through time.
Yeah, so I'm very excited for that, and to also think about like how many people have never watched like a Marvel movie, and
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of people out there, and now they're like, oh, I like Angelina Jolie, I'll go
Well,
watch this movie.
well,
It's kind of like,
that's what it is. I mean, I think it was the same even with Iron Man. People were like, "Oh, you know what? I remember Robert Downey Jr. from this movie, and I really liked it. I'm gonna go watch it." And
so
kind of
yeah,
similar idea, kind of with every one of those movies. Kind of people who weren't introduced to the comic books when they were younger are being introduced to them in the movie format,
Right.
and just because there's a certain actor or actress that they really like inside in that movie, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got to go see that."
yeah, I'm really excited for that. I mean, we've been back and forth from the comic book store, and comics are selling out really, really fast. Like we couldn't even find a single Loki comic because like the hype is real. Like people just they hear, oh, Loki is out. All right, I'm gonna go storm the comic book store. And I asked the guy, I was like, how's business? I know it's a hard time for small business. He's like, bro, the the pandemic was the best time for us. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, people were just coming to the comic book stores because
Mm-hmm.
they had nothing else to do. And I was
It's
like,
like
that's
it's like
awesome.
it's like there's nothing else to do. They would come here. They couldn't go on vacation, so they would come here, buy a comic, hang out for a little bit, and then go home.
Which is awesome. I mean, that's one of the, obviously the pandemic wasn't like a good thing, but those were one of the benefits
Oh yeah.
because I'm sure comic book stores weren't getting as popular because of like digital content. People are like, dude, I'll get an ebook. You know
Well,
what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I was actually, I talked to a few people at work actually, and one of my coworkers, he has a comic book collection that he's basically been collecting since like the 1980s,
Wow.
early 1980s. He's been collecting. He has somewhere around like 5,000 comics right now.
Dang.
And I was like, oh, so you read them? No, he's like, I actually have a subscription with Marvel and DC Comics,
Yeah.
on my iPad, and I just read them on my iPad.
That's
He's
what I'm
like,
saying.
he's
Yeah.
like, honestly, it's like when I was younger, yeah, but now it's like it's too much of a hassle to take them out, open them, read them. It's like I'd rather save them and keep them as clean as possible,
Right.
rather than it's like I still read the comics, but I don't want to mess them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a good time for comic book stores, and I'm happy to see that they're doing well
I
and
mean, he also said
continuing to
the values
You
of all the
know,
comic books have been going up consistently.
what's really
Pandemic.
funny is the first time I ever went to a comic book store, Matt took me actually.
Really?
That was actually the first time I went to a comic book store.
Wait,
I
So
used to
go
love
like
back. Go back. When did we do that again?
you remember when we played that game, that board game,
Oh, that.
Gloomhaven, yeah. And
Remember
like we went to the comic book store me and you go to Islam, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The
That's
one
the
in
one he introduced me to.
Fortress of Solitude or the other one?
No, the other one, the one
Oh, the
in
one
near
in
Montclair.
okay.
You went to Time Warp, bro.
Yeah.
Bro. Bro. That place just became a little bit cooler because nerds, you know how they are.
Well, the people there are very weird. Now, like when I went with the Islam, I was just like looking at one of the books, and like some guy literally is like trying to like go into the aisle that I'm in. So instead of saying, "Hey, excuse me, could I just walk by?" He literally goes, "Yo, can you move?"
He didn't even say, "Can you move?" He's like, "Move."
Yeah, he literally just said, "Move," and
Was he bigger than
I
you? Was he stronger than you?
Oh no,
no,
no, he was tiny. He was
bro, I'm Arab. Even if he's stronger than me, that's still a fight,
No, but
bro.
we were just kind of like we were caught off guard. On like it was more of like, did that just happen?
So
And
did
then
you
like it just happened so
like,
fast that I didn't react. I was just like, is this real life?
Like we just continued on it. We just
Did I
we're
just
like,
get
all right, let's just
enchanted?
continue.
Like,
Let's
what?
just keep going. Let's keep looking
literally
at
got
what we're
the
doing.
chance, bro? Like that kid literally NLP'd you guys with his Napoleon complex, and because
That's
you're
what I'm saying.
it's
See,
like, wait,
Matt's gonna
what?
get into the psychology of it. I love it.
Yeah,
So,
he got you.
but yeah,
no,
dude, we
go.
all gotta go there one time, bro. 'Cause,
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll definitely.
Yeah.
and we definitely want to have you as a guest again, Matt, because it's very hard to find people that are.
We're gonna need you in person though. Next time's in person.
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
don't know, guys. I got the coronavirus and I'm dying.
All right. Well, hopefully you get that vaccine ASAP.
Nah, I mess with you. I got vaccinated, got both my shots. I'm gonna live.
Nice.
In fact, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna look, yo, when I'm 50, I'm gonna look like that guy who plays Hiram Lodge in Riverdale, which is
You just quoted Riverdale. All right.
like that show is bad, but
You know what? Since we're quoting, went from Loki to Riverdale. Let's end this on a high note. Did you watch Rick and Morty?
if I say yes, will you be satisfied? And
Bro, as soon as you asked that, I cringed because he hates Rick and Morty.
Really?
okay,
You're not a Rick and Morty guy?
I'm not a Rick and Morty guy, unfortunately.
I think what he hates
that's
the
fine.
most about it is that a lot of people who watch it are just like, dude, you don't even understand the amount of thought process you need to watch this show. And you're like, bro.
Those people actually turned me off of Rick and Morty for a while.
But do they not realize that that's a meme?
Yeah. Like, come on,
Like
bro.
those
All right.
like those people try like a really good friend of mine. He's like, yeah, you have to be like really smart to watch Rick and Morty, and I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, it's really not that complicated. Like, I'm like, if it's complicated for you, then maybe yes, you do need to be really smart, but it's not complicated. It's a very simple show.
It really is not. Who says stuff like that?
Yeah. So on the agenda, Invincible. You have to watch it. You have to
Hey,
watch
I'm watching that.
one. And then, as an olive branch to you, Slim, we'll watch Doctor Who, because I know you wanted me to get into that.
And
You don't like that?
it just like it put a bad taste. Somebody already put a bad taste in my mouth way before y'all got here. It's nothing personal. I just can't do it. It's just people I would really like to snap like that show, and you know how it be.
Oh man, that's the beauty of content these days. You could either hate it or love it. But all right, man. So I guess we'll be back hopefully next week. Matt, if you want to be our guest on the next podcast too for Invincible, we'd love to have you. Apparently, guests are very hard to find since we posted in the group chat and nobody replied. Not crying, but no, we'd love to have you next week, hopefully. And yeah, anything else this time?
No, nothing else from me. Thanks, Matt, for joining. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification so you guys know when we post. Like the video, and if you guys want to drink some Raise Energy, they're our sponsor for today, tomorrow, next week, next year, next month, every day of the week. So if you use code Hitchhikers in the coupon box, you'll get 15% off your first purchase. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week. Signing off, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Movies. Take care, everybody. Guys.